Bill Roden on sports. Bill Roden. I'm here in Washington, D.C., where I was attending the MLS All Star. MLS, for those of you hardcore sports with nothing about soccer, is the Major League Soccer uh, League had their All Star game here in DC last night, and I'll tell you all about that. Don't click, don't turn off. So, yeah, all about that. Jamal, what's happening?
What's up, Bill? Everything's good out here in nice hot Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Not I didn't go to any MLS games. Just
Oh
been
man, you got to get with it, brother.
yeah, I know. I just been at youth games of all sports.
Of
That's what I'm up
course.
to now. But first, before we get started, of course, Bros Pod is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one choice or number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. Bet Online continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to get in on the action. Remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts.
So, how much do you want to bet that in 20 years, uh, soccer will replace football in the United States as a major sport?
I'll I'll put everything that does not happen.
Okay. Well, we'll
Not
see.
everything, not everything, because it is getting football's getting kind of violent. It's getting people are getting tired of the violence. So
Well,
you never
kind of.
know.
They say that in July. You know,
Right,
come
right.
September, they'll be right back. Yeah.
They might have those super duper helmets by then. Might be playing with those the helmets they use in practice with the I don't even know how to describe it. You know,
Those are sponge.
the
People be
sponge helmets.
bouncing. People be bouncing off.
They might be forced to play with that.
Yeah. Well, eventually, with this artificial intelligence,
Mm,
I know players don't think about it, but there could be a time when those guys become replaced.
yeah.
Because imagine having, you could almost have games played in like studios, where you have automatons and, I mean, all kinds of violence. Did you ever watch Westworld?
No, I heard
Well,
about it.
yeah, but it was they had these almost lifelike human figures. I mean, they look exactly like human beings. They look just like human beings, except they weren't. And people would pay money to go to this area. Multi-billionaires would pay all kinds of money to go to this resort area where all these automata, and they could let their fantasies run wild. They could shoot them. They could do anything,
Mm,
to these people. And then, of course, they take the automatons to some factory and have them repaired and all that. And I was thinking, man, they do that with NFL. You could have, and it could be the worst kind of violence because at the end you just take them, instead of shooting them with cortisone, you just take them back to the factory, put a new part, and then they're all programmed. All these things are programmed. So, nobody's safe. I talk
yeah.
about the journalists
No,
aren't safe, the football players ain't safe.
I agree. I more I think about it because as long as you as long as real people exist, still, but as long as you can convince the fans and us in our minds that it's the same thing and put names on people and give people their own attributes and do things, what do we really care if it's real people? Like, you could probably get to a point to convince us that it's the same. We could still bet on it.
Yep.
What's the
And then
difference?
if the people, I'm telling you, man, these people just look like you and me. I
Right.
mean, they were like human beings, and they could talk. I mean, they could give great interviews, but all the interviews would be programmed. It would be this. It's this fitting word, and then they could, the hits would be just like
Oh,
the worst kind of hit. Maybe,
you could have limbs flying off.
yeah.
What does it matter?
The people would be, ah!
I feel like there's been movies like that where
Oh
the
man.
limbs fly off on
Yeah,
hits.
it'd be the worst kind of violence. You got fights. where people like tearing somebody's like arm off or something. Oh man.
Oh, I thought that's MMA.
Oh, that's right. That's exists. Hey, boy, I forgot that.
That
Yeah,
already,
we
people
have
already
that.
love watching that.
Yeah. So, anyways, before we get into real, no, I shouldn't say that. So I was,
Careful.
no, you know, I want to ask you that too because last week I forget when it was. I was at the Major League Baseball All Star game in Seattle,
Yeah,
and the big imperative there in baseball was how do we get more Black Americans in baseball? How do we get more young Black Americans in baseball? And so they had the HBCU All Star game and blah 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 blah. So here in soccer, they've got the same thing here in the United States with soccer. How do we get the young athletic Black kid into soccer? And I just thought it was sort of fascinating to have. And we won't talk about hockey. We'll do that in the winter. But how you've got Major League Baseball and Major League Soccer, these two sports, trying to get the Black talent. And I wanted to talk to you about your sons because they are the target group.
right.
They'll figure out how do we get these young kids and their parents to guide the kids into soccer and maybe away from baseball. They realize football and basketball are hopeless. But, so if you had a preference, what would it be? Yeah, I mean, you said your one son plays a little bit of soccer,
Right.
a lot of touch football.
Right. A lot of football, almost as much basketball. Baseball, he wants to play. We're trying to. I haven't been able to find a team yet, but just been busy. Plus, he's busy. But soccer, we did through the school. The school had, instead of after school, you can put him in a soccer program that's connected to the school. So we did that, and he liked it, and he developed some soccer skills.
Okay.
Um, and soccer's obviously a great start sport for like little kids. Little kids, you can have 2, 3-year-olds out there kicking a soccer ball. Probably
Right.
the easiest sport to start. So we've done that with
Running
our
around.
running around, kicking a
Like
soccer
Lamar
ball.
Jackson's running around.
Exactly. So speaking of that, shouldn't be too hard to get kids out there. But yeah, I mean, but I don't know. It's just, and we're talking specifically about minority youth, Black youth.
Well, yeah, and then not even so much minority because the point I was interviewing yesterday, this brother named Shala Winley,
Mm-hmm.
great guy. He is the chief diversity officer for Major League Soccer. Been there since 2021, and his job is twofold: is to diversify the front office and the coaching ranks, but also to diversify the players. But he was making a great point. He was saying that the average, if you have Latin players or Hispanics coming into the United States as young kids, they're already familiar with soccer. Just
Right.
like if you have African immigrants coming to the United States, they're already familiar with soccer. The group that's not familiar with soccer is young African American born kids. They're not necessarily familiar with soccer because they've been oriented toward football, toward basketball, maybe toward baseball, but probably not. But he was saying that's the one target group, the young African American kid, Black American born kid, not really familiar. So when you say the minorities, well, most of the other ethnic groups are.
Right.
They
Right.
they're already familiar with soccer. You don't have to convince them. But it's that and Black athletes we're the athletes of the world, of the universe. We're the universal athletes. So everybody's looking for that great Black athlete.
Now the question is, are they really? Like
Well,
aren't the that's the baseball question, right? Do they really want black kids?
Oh well. I thought you said, are they really the athletes? Yeah,
No,
really.
no, oh, black, yeah, black Americans are really the athletes. Yeah,
But no,
thanks.
I think that you raise a great point. Uh, that does baseball really want these great black athletes to come take spots from their kids? And it's the same thing in soccer, because in soccer, when you have the soccer moms and all that, that's really a middle in the United States. It's a middle and upper middle class sport
Right.
where you have a lot of white kids who are there and they get the scholarships and all that. And do they really want these young Hispanic kids, young great black to come and take their kids' spots?
And soccer, when the way it looks now, as a parent, it's very popular, at young ages, like I said, but mostly for white kids, in this country. And it makes me wonder, like, do these parents want black kids involved and playing with their white kids? Because like, it made me think about just schools in general, right? Like public schools that are gentrifying, or schools that are predominantly white. You they don't want, I mean, there's an issue, as always, about whether, how to diversify the schools and that kind of thing. And you see on the school level, you might have a class of 20 kids, and let's say you're in a mixed neighborhood, or a school that's considered a good school in a zone, and the 20 kids, I'm talking about, like, okay, 5, 6 year olds or something, 4 or 5 year olds, kindergarten or something like that. And you have 20 kids, and there'll be 16 white kids, four black kids, and inevitably, uh the little black kids are the ones that get sent to the principal, for acting. They all, any kindergarten kid is gonna be restless and wild on occasion. And it's like, and what I see is, like, a black kid will be sent to the principal for just being a kid. So it
Right.
makes me think about soccer. Now all these parents are putting their kids into these soccer. Do they don't want, or they're scared of, or whatever, like, they're not accepting of gentrifying their spaces. So to me, this is another one of their spaces,
Yeah.
for kids.
Yeah.
So it could start there. And I'm just thinking about that off the top. I haven't done a study, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, and I talked to soccer officials about this. I said, "God, do you really want soccer to look like the NBA and the NFL?"
No, they don't
And
want that.
they said, "Well, we kind of like our model here, you
Right.
know,
Right.
where universally, soccer is a working person sport, you know. Now,
Right.
the Women's World Cup starts today, started yesterday rather,
Mhm.
and again, I really made a deep dive into this about what's the are they is the women's league pursuing young black athletes, young black women athletes to play, or is everybody just content? And I think we run into the same thing with baseball. Baseball is purely solidified as a white kid sport in America. That's the one sport where the white American kid can has a shot to dominate. And it's clearly you have a lot of Latin players, but they're not. They don't seem to be seen as the same threat as Black American players.
Yeah. Or with baseball, like, I think that they're probably seen as a threat, overall, from parents, or they are competition.
Well, the
But if
threat in terms of, yeah, I see what you're saying.
but if they're kind of saying, well, okay, there's still, even if they're a threat, and they're participating, there's still room for us. Now, if Black Americans get in there now, they're fighting, in terms of participation at the highest levels, they'd be fighting for less spots even.
Yeah, you get squeezed. And I think the barrier now, and I think you and Khalid talked about it last week, that even basketball, I mean, you could easily price out people, and baseball has basically priced out a lot of young black kids, and soccer has kind of done the same thing. And what Shala Winley was saying is that in soccer, they want to remove the pay for play model, where the cost of playing is just so expensive that you kind of go broke, trying to change trying to participate,
which is
and
a
they want to
joke,
remove that.
right? Which seems like a joke because soccer, there's really no in baseball. You could it might be manufactured in baseball also. I'm sure it is to an extent, but there is equipment involved. Baseball fields aren't harder to find than soccer fields. Soccer, there should be no excuse. Anybody can go. It's like basketball, like the people who
Right,
say about basketball. Oh, you could just go out there and play and
right.
shoot hoops. You could do the same thing with soccer. So for that to be an expensive sport seems manufactured.
Yeah, you have travel teams. I mean, you could make anything expensive.
Right,
Now you have to join. You have to join a soccer club,
right,
because what's the point of if you just like in your neighborhood, you have all black neighborhood, and a guy wants to start a team, and you can start a team, but where are you going to play? If you want to play into a league, there's a fee to get into
right,
the league, and you got
right,
to have registration fees, and
right.
they can make it. They can make it as expensive as they want. And I'm sure you have to have soccer camps, things like that. So you can make,
Instructors and
yeah. Now I guess in basketball, now I guess you have to join an AAU team,
yeah,
and there's again not a lot of equipment. I mean, there's
no,
sneakers,
but it's like
shorts,
access, right? Access to experts or access
shooting
um
coach, the
yeah, coach or and then the dream of being recruited and getting you
uh,
know going to school for free. So there's access to tournaments where coaches will be. So I'm sure as you get older in soccer, it's the same thing.
yeah. And if you want to, there are all these AAU basketball tournaments
Right,
where all the coaches come.
right.
So if you want to be on a team, we should have asked Khalid that. They're not flying you out there for free, I guess. So maybe parents have to pay a particular fee, unless you're like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then you get, you get paid for.
Well, there's a mother of a kid who's going to be starting a starting point guard for North Carolina next season. He'll be a freshman, Elliot Cadeau. His mother was on Twitter, and I was reading some of her tweets, and she was asking about AAU and the payment for AAU, and from what I could tell, it seems, and she was saying that it's really the middle school kids and the younger kids. They pay about 2,500 or so, or 1,000 to 2,500 for the summer, and they use that money to finance their teams with kids who don't pay. You
Right.
know what I mean? So they're financing. It's the kids, the younger middle school, to let's say fifth to ninth grade, and each parent has to pay 1,000 to 2,500 for that kid, and that pays for the really
Right.
good kids who play on the circuit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's sort of it's subsidy.
Hmm.
You know. So yeah, it's all a racket.
Right.
It's all a racket. I guess we have to come up with a racket. So anyway, but but back to the
Soccer.
soccer. So I was here last night. They had a sold out crowd at it's called Audi Stadium, which is cool because it's a stadium made uh, just for soccer. I
Mm.
think its capacity is 20,000, 22,000, and it was a great atmosphere. It's kind of like baseball, except I guess there's more action in soccer in terms of people just running around. There are people. There's always constant movement.
Right.
Not a lot of scoring, but
Right.
constant moving. Where baseball is not constant movement. It's basically sitting around, strike one, ball one.
Well, it's faster now, Bill. With the pitch clock.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because the guy can't spend 2 hours outside the batter's box.
Right.
Swing and a miss. Well, John, last week in Oregon, blah 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 blah. Here's the pitch, foul ball. Yeah,
Right. Right.
but I think both are outdoor sports, and you can bring the family and kill. And the good thing about soccer is that you're only going to be there for like 2 hours.
Hmm.
I mean, it's pretty much that is set in time.
Right. It's a time sport, unlike baseball.
Baseball could go on for like it could be 3 hours. So,
Right.
but you're outdoors if you want to bring the family, and I guess in the United States, if you go to MLS, it's probably a pretty good deal, cost wise, because I guess they're trying to make it affordable.
Right.
Um, so there's something to be said, and the game itself, my cousin, Kyle and Kevin. Kyle is a friend of the show, and his brother Kevin is a huge soccer fan. I mean, big, big, big soccer fan. And they look at MLS as like the super minor leagues, because all the great leagues are in Europe,
Right.
and in England and Spain, Italy. Those were the great, and your great. This was fascinating to me. Um, the great young player in the United States, the great young soccer player in the United States goes overseas to
Right.
Europe, where
Right.
the great football player, your goal is to go to big time college and the NFL. And the
Right.
great basketball player, although there are a lot of different leagues, your goal is to go to the NBA. So you stay in the United States, where in soccer, the great players go to Europe. So it's I'm intrigued by the feeder system and soccer and baseball trying to go after they say at least trying to go after the talented young black athlete. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And then there's the question if the young black athlete wants to play it. And I kind of think, one of the to me, one of the biggest issues with baseball and probably soccer is that, young black kids, we grow up and we watch those major sports, football and basketball, and those are the most popular sports on television. Those are the most popular. Those are the sports that are making the most money that you see commercials for. That guys who play in those leagues are on commercials. They become superstars. You're not really seeing that even from the white baseball players. You don't see that. You don't see that soccer. You don't see soccer stars on TV. So I think that's a big part of it. So it's almost like you have to make the sport popular first. Even though it was black people who made those sports, who made football and basketball popular, they played the role in making those sports popular. But so I don't know, the chicken or the egg type of thing.
Yeah. I think soccer is an uphill climb. I mean, you've got, I mean, I'm sure I'll probably be wrong in saying this. I'm not about to say anything controversial, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm just saying in Europe, I know you got soccer. Now I know you've got things like other
Cricket,
sports,
cricket,
cricket, rugby. You
right,
know, I don't know if cricket and rugby are the same thing of competing in the United States with the NFL, the NBA, and even Major League Baseball. I mean, you've got these and hockey. You've got these major sports in the United States um, that all are feeding on a youth pipeline because that's the blood of your sport are young people. You got to constantly bring that supply. You run on young supple bodies, and so you got to have all these youth systems going out and like grabbing these talented young players. Uh, you know, I'd imagine that baseball, the NFL, and basketball kind of dominate the pipeline in terms of the labor that they need. Uh, Hockey, I think, has a great pipeline too. It's a niche sport, but they have their pipeline. And I guess soccer in this country is at a loss because it's young. I mean, the MLS is only 28 years old,
right.
where the NFL is what like 1920, Major League Baseball is the 19th century. You know, so I just find it because you're talking about feeding on young bodies, trying to identify these three major sports, trying to identify young bodies, to like develop, nurture, toss out, and just get the cream of the crop to come into your sport. to fuel your sport. So it's pretty easy. But I think soccer has an uphill climb. I mean, but you
I
know,
mean, they're doing better because I
yeah,
have more friends, now who have daughters who play who are playing and even at high levels, in high school or high school age. Because a lot of times these very good soccer players, don't even play for their high school team in soccer. They play for a club team, and even if their high school has a team, they don't play for that team because it's not on the level.
right,
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
if you have a kid who can play in college, a lot of times you're not even playing you for your own high school. You're playing you found a better team.
You're a club team.
Yeah, you're a club team. So,
Yeah,
and I see more and more of that, and I have friends of mine who never played soccer growing up, were more football, basketball guys, and their daughters play soccer. Their black daughters play soccer at a, so I see it more and more. So it must be, that participation aspect of it must be increasing, but I guess not at the rate.
yeah, again, uh, as we end this segment, people, uh, daughter, particularly, a black daughter with Raisa. We didn't have. I think she played soccer. She ran track and all that. Your options. Soccer would be a great option.
Right.
To play. We'll have to bring on an expert next week to talk not only about that, but to talk about the Women's World Cup, which began earlier this week. Tragically, there was a shooting in Auckland. Um, a gunman broke into a construction site on the eve of the Women's World Cup and began just opening fire, and you know, just terrible. But we'll have
Right.
somebody in next week to talk about the U.S. women and their title. Oh,
Yeah, I think it'd be their third if they win. This one would be their third in a row. But
yeah,
from what I've heard, um, we shouldn't be expecting that at this point. I think the world has gotten better, and then three in a row is tough.
yeah. Well, we do expect it. Uh,
What a before we leave this segment, the MLS match you attended. Did you have
oh yeah.
fun? Like what was the experience?
Well, I brought three of the Rodent Fellows, you and one of whom has a. She actually had a very good story. On there's a guy. Let's see his friend's name. Of course, I found his place. There's a guy, a player from who plays for DC United,
Mm,
and his name is Christian Bedeke. He's
mm,
a black Belgian-born player who plays for DC United, and this is his first All Star game. I mean, he played in the Premier League,
oh,
you know,
okay.
and he kind of grew up. He grew up briefly in the United States, I think in Brooklyn or something. Then, but he spent most of his time playing in a European league. But he played at a pretty high level. But then he recently came back to the United States. He wanted to. He said, I guess he had a decent career, a good career in the Premier League, and like a lot of like Messi, I
Right.
think when
Who's
he
coming?
gets
Who's coming to Miami? Right.
yeah, is going to Miami. So clearly Messi is not what he was, but he get paid because the MLS could use that name.
Right.
It's
Sort of
just
like
like
they
DC
did
United.
with Beckham,
Yeah, it's the
previously.
same thing with Beckham. Beckham, who incidentally, I think he is a GM or part owner or something, but he got heat because, MLS has the same issue. They're trying to hire black American coaches. And this guy, and they've got their version of the Rooney rule.
Mm.
But just like they get around it in the NFL, Beckham got around it in Miami. He hired his crony. He hired some buddy of his who probably never even knows nothing about soccer at all, and he hired him.
Right.
So everybody's got the same. Even the NFL. I mean, we talk about how great their pipeline is. they get a great idea. They have a great way of getting black players in, but
Oh
they
yeah.
have trouble making them head coaches and executives.
Right. Right.
So that's, but yeah, but anyway, but the game was fun. It was fun seeing the fellows um, navigate the press room and
Mm-hmm.
going to the in soccer, unlike they've got what they call the I think the neutral zone. I'm probably getting it wrong, but where journalists line up and as players come out, they speak to the players. It's sort of like this neutral zone where you kind of grab a little bit here, a little bit there. It's
Okay.
not like the NFL where we stand outside the locker room and we go to the interview room. The locker room's open and the
Right.
horde barges
You Russian. Yeah.
you know. Uh, Although they have both, they've got the neutral zone, and then they'll open the locker room up.
Yeah. Okay.
So that part is, and maybe at some point. So, but yes, to answer your question, we did have fun. Long night though, man. I didn't get out of the stadium till like noon. I mean midnight. And as
Right.
you know that's
Based on the press coverage part of it after the game,
yeah.
sticking
Oh yeah.
around the locker rooms and all that.
Oh man. Yeah. That
But
you
you
know.
can't. Aren't you looking forward to doing that this year? Jets games.
Well, it depends. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets. Yeah, and maybe this was a segue, uh, going from that into the NFL. Uh, yeah. I mean, I am kind of looking forward to the Aaron Rodgers experience. Though it seems like we've seen this story before.
Yeah,
We
like
saw,
the almost the
saw
exact story, right? The Brett Favre.
yeah, we've seen this before. For the sake of our guy, um, you know, people we know and love who work for the Jets,
Yeah,
we're hoping it's a
they they need a good season, man.
right.
Come on, just one.
Yeah,
I grew up the Jets and Eagles fan. So I do kind of root for the Jets.
yeah. Well, kind of. We know you used to root for the Knicks too. Did you hear
Yes,
this
for the
late?
Knicks.
Well, let's not divert. So yeah, so I think the Jets will be a big story. But what do you make of Saquon Barkley? I mean,
Mm,
we were talking about how great soccer is, but the NFL is so exploitive, and particularly in if you are an NFL running back, you basically are useless. I mean, it's probably one of the most exploited positions in all of sports. Because they say they want young running. It's like chewing gum. You get that burst of sugar of the stick, and then you throw it out. Then you get another stick, and that's the NFL running back, where
right.
you just chew it for a little while, toss it out. Chew it for a little while, toss it out.
Yeah, and I get that part of it. I get that the running back is kind of uh as a position in general, it is kind of interchangeable. It is a spot where most of the time the guy there's a high probability that the running back will get hurt. So I understand why teams have kind of changed directions and don't want to pay them. But the Saquon Barkley Giants thing to me is different because Saquon is an outlier. He's like a top if you have a top 5 back, like can't they in his prime, like really? Like he can't
No,
and I'm
he's
not talking
already
about
been hurt, Jamal. He already got hurt.
but he's played. He got hurt one season, right? He
Yeah.
was out. He missed a season. He played in he's played six. He's played basically in his career. He's played 60 games in 5 years. That's 12 games a season. That's pretty good, man.
Well,
You
so
know?
let's go back to our betting. Let's make a bet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're saying this as a fan and
I'm
as
not.
a
I've never been a Giants fan ever. I don't care about the Giants.
well, you're saying this as a commentator. But if
Right.
you were the general manager and your butt was on the line,
Right.
would you give Saquon, knowing that he's going to get hurt? It's not if, it's he's going to get hurt. You were fortunate last year that he did not get hurt, and you appreciate. Thanks, Saquon. We can never repay. We can never repay you for what you've done. But
Exactly.
he's going to get hurt. It's just a
Okay.
matter.
So, but why? But okay, it's not. I mean, okay. I guess I got to see the numbers of these. Because yes, off the top of the head, these running backs get hurt. but it's football. Everybody gets hurt, right? But if you tell me that the running back is like 80% likely to get hurt or something, like I get it, because that's the only thing that I could see it being a bad deal to pay Barkley like a couple $1,000,000 more to avoid the PR hit you take, the locker room hit you take if he doesn't show, right? So you're hurting your team by not paying him a couple $1,000,000 extra. The only way it's beneficial is if he were to get hurt.
Well,
Other
I
than
mean,
that, I mean, why? I mean, I think you have. I mean, he was your entire team last year. He's a fan favorite. Why is it not worth giving him just a couple $1,000,000 extra to show up rather than now he doesn't show up to the training camp. That
you
puts
know
you
why?
behind.
Because
Now he
you
doesn't
can't.
play. Now after every game the media is going to ask questions. It's going to cause all this stuff in the locker room, and now you're going to have a bad season
Wait,
because
wait,
of it. It's not
wait.
worth a couple million.
No. In other words, the fans will be there. The fans will be there. It doesn't matter. You talk about fan favorite. They don't care. It'll
That's
be the
true.
next person up. Whoever wears the next number, third, whatever his
If
number is.
he's good, yeah. If that person produces it all, which they
Yeah.
might.
So, okay, Saquon who? And in the locker room, it's like slaves. You boys better shape up or ship out. There ain't no guaranteed contracts here. You better take your lip off the floor and just get out there and play. Talk about locker room issue. There will be no locker room. So I hear what you're saying, and I just it would be great if Saquon would get his money, but if you're looking at these people, they're doing it because they can do it. It's $2 million. You're right. It's humiliating that for all I did for you, so well we paid you for that already.
Right. Like so the franchise tag is $10 million, right? They got
Yeah,
to pay him that if he plays. He reportedly would have signed for 12 would have signed a long 2-year 12 million a year contract. And you don't want to do that, but you gave Daniel Jones, who's an average quarterback at best, $40 million
he's
when
a
they
white
probably
average quarterback.
right. True, and they didn't have to. I don't think they had to do that. I think they could have gave him 10 million lessons. Where's he gonna go? He wasn't.
Yeah, they didn't have to, yeah,
So
you're
it's
right.
like you
They didn't
splurged
have to
on this
pay him
guy to
that.
make him happy. Meanwhile, he was only average because he had this great running back behind him that was touching the ball about 60-70% of the offense. And you don't want to give him a couple million just to, and that's what when you say what if I were the GM, I'm still thinking of it team wise. I'm still thinking about the team. And if I give this dude just a couple million more dollars, it just can smooth things out. And the only way it's a bad deal is if he gets hurt. But he can get hurt off the franchise tag and he's still going to get that 10 million for this year.
Yeah, so that's okay. If I'm mayor, I say, okay, Jamal, we'll take it out of your salary.
And then I'll say no, that's okay. Never mind.
this is only $2 million.
I'll say
We'll take it out of your
I was
salary.
just playing.
Well, Saquon, we really appreciate all you've done.
Well, I think Daniel Jones should give him a couple million. Like, come on, man. I mean,
Well, yeah, what would Daniel Jones say? Well, I mean, no. I did. I did improve, and Saquon, my play helped you.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
that's NFL
so I
stuff.
don't know.
I mean, they basically did them like. I mean,
So, yeah.
if teams are willing to do, yeah, I mean, if teams are willing to do Lamar Jackson like that, they'll do Saquon like that.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
If I'm like Saquon, look at what they're doing to Lamar. I got no shot.
right.
Yeah. So anything else intrigues you about the NFL coming in? With training camps are open, finally kind of gives us something to so we don't have to deal with baseball.
My
Aaron
Mets
Rodgers.
my Mets might make a comeback. You never know. Did you know that the Yankees are in last place for the first time in like 30 years? Even though they're above 500, about 4 games above 500, but the AL East is so strong. But the
Yeah.
Yankees are in last place for the first time in like 30 something years.
You say that with a little too much glee.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
in last
Not a
place.
problem.
I guess this is when everybody gets fired, right?
I would
Uh,
assume, but
you
Aaron Judge has been hurt for most of the season.
yeah.
There's a like
I mean, this time last year we would call him Babe Ruth.
exactly.
You know. So what else we got in baseball? Now, Oakland
Nothing.
moving to the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah, nothing. There's nothing really. I mean, I've been watching some baseball here. It is. I think those rule changes were a good idea to speed the game up. I think it does help.
Yeah,
Rarely do games go over 3 hours now, so that was a plus.
yeah, that was good. But baseball is still baseball.
Yeah,
The essence of it is baseball.
there's more stolen bases now because of these new. Remember, you can only throw over to first once or twice
Yeah.
per batter. So now guys are running like crazy. Maybe that brings black people back into the game.
Yeah.
You never
Right. Well, it's funny at the All Star game they had the HBCU All Star game,
Yep.
and there must have been about I don't know 7,000 8,000 black folks there. There's got to be more black folks that's been at one time at a baseball game since the Negro League East West All Star game.
Exactly. Maybe we should create a Negro leagues again. That'd be something.
Well, I think the idea, and I think Major League Soccer people saw that, said, interesting. I just don't know if there are enough HBCU programs with soccer teams. That's
Right.
the thing. I mean, Howard's got one, but I'm not sure how many HBCUs have soccer teams.
Right.
So that's
And that goes back to the youth part of it. Grassroots has to be interest. If black kids were playing soccer at high levels, then all these schools would have a soccer program.
Yeah. So what else?
Back to NFL.
Oh, the
NFL,
NFL. Yeah,
the
it always
NFL,
gets back to the NFL.
yeah, NFL camps opened up. In fact, Bill, I'm gonna go check out the Jets training camp tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
See what's up with Jared, and
Oh, yeah.
and
Is that
see.
the thing with the family where you can bring your kids?
No, this is just it's just a media credential.
Oh, no, do we have our credentials?
We do.
Oh, you have yours.
You have yours too. You got the email.
Oh,
I'm sure you got an email.
Well, look,
Because I got it. I got it yesterday.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely go out to see Aaron Rodgers throw around the yard and his Green Bay receivers.
Yeah.
I'm just be curious to see what will be his first clash with the New York media.
That'll be fun. There'll be something.
Now
First of all, if you check out this, they have this monster schedule to start the season. It's not even fair. They play, they play like everybody good the first 6 weeks. They could be 0-5. It's possible. They play the Chiefs. They play Dallas. They play every team that was in the playoffs like the first few weeks. So we're gonna know pretty quickly because I don't think you can start like 0-4 and still have a great season.
Yeah, no, unless you all of a sudden you quote unquote figure it out and go 13 and 0
right
the rest of the way.
Right.
Now I think they better. What's your schedule?
I gotta look it up. I know they play. They play. I know they play the Patriots like week 3 or 4.
Well, they'll probably beat the Patriots.
Well, that's what we always say. Let me look up these NFL schedules, see if they have them on. I'm sure they have them. Schedule. The Jets first week. The Jets play. Are they home? Oh yeah, first week the Jets are Monday Night Football, and they play Buffalo.
That's
no, Thursday. Thursday night they play Buffalo week 1. No.
At home.
At home. Well, I'm sorry, that's Monday night. Week 2 they play at Dallas.
Tough, but not.
You can win that. You should win that.
You keep thinking of Dallas like the 1975 Cowboys.
Week 3, they're home for New England.
That again, that's you said about the Tom Brady Patriots. These are not the Tom Brady Patriots.
True. Week 4, they're home for Kansas City.
That's tough. That's
tough.
Unfortunately, the only thing saving grace is they're at home.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes comes to town. And then week 5, Denver at Denver. It's always tough to play at Denver, but they were terrible last year.
Yeah. Although they've got a new coach and a new quarterback. Well, a
Well, they
second.
got the second year of Russell Wilson.
Russell
Russell
Wilson.
Wilson apparently is in great condition. He's trying to turn his career around, or at least at the end of his career.
Yeah.
uh, week 6, they're home for Philadelphia.
That's another tough one. That's another tough. I mean, Denver is winnable,
But
but
at Denver.
it's at Denver, so that's the only issue there. But it's not like it's going to into Arrowhead Stadium or something.
Right. And then they have a bye. So, I mean, but there were no easy games in that first 6 games.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I will give the NFL credit. There, a lot of times, what you think is an easy game turns out to be a loss.
That's true.
So what?
Yeah.
So since we've taken the betting money, what's your bet on what the Jets will be by the time of their bye? Let's go game to game, and we'll make wagers.
All right. So
You have to keep a record as Jamal, because I'm not. You have to keep a record.
So week 1.
As if you don't have enough on your plate.
Week 1, home versus Buffalo. Josh Allen, the great Josh Allen.
So I'll say Jets win.
You say Jets beat Buffalo that first
I'll
game.
say Jets win.
I'm going to say the Bills win that game.
Yeah.
Just more continuity. They know each other. They'll be up for it. It'll be good weather. Week 2, Dallas at Dallas. I'll give the Jet. I'll say the Jets for that.
I will. I'll say the Jets too, even though I think that the Dallas could win with Dak Prescott. If they don't, they're going to be ready to hang Dak in effigy.
Yeah, get ready for that.
I'll go with Dallas on that. I mean, I'll go with the Jets.
I'm down on Dallas this year. They got rid of their offensive coordinator. They made him the fall guy for them losing, and now they have their head coach, McCarthy, who I never believed in ever, and he's calling their plays. They're about to have a terrible season. Watch, no question. Week 3, the Patriots. I'll take the Jets.
A win for the Jets.
Yeah, at home versus the Patriots. I'll take the Jets. So that's 2-1. Week 4, Kansas City. They play Kansas City. Kansas City at New York. I'm taking Kansas City.
Kansas City. No, I don't care where they play on Jupiter.
Right. A big game too. They'll be hyping it up. Mahomes will be ready.
Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers with the Jets.
Yeah. So give me Mahomes in that. So that'd be 2-2. And then week 5 at Miami. No, that's the Giants. At Denver. Like we said.
That's a
I'll go
tough
Jets.
game.
I'll give the Jets.
I'll take the Jets just for the hell of it. But
so yeah, if they're 3-2 at the bye, that's good. That's a good job.
Yeah.
With that schedule. Yeah. But then they play the Eagles. Actually, the Eagles again. So they'll be 3-3. They'll lose to the Eagles at home.
Oh yeah, I'll take the Eagles on that one.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, who people are still, they're still doing these quarterback lists, top 5, and I saw an ESPN list that had Herbert ahead of Jalen Hurts. What does he have to do?
Some things never change. The boy got to the Super Bowl. Yeah, but that was the defense,
And the other dude won one playoff game, choked the second game, and they still believe in him.
And Herbert didn't Herbert San Diego blow?
Oh, yes, they blew that 30-point lead,
like 35-0 or something, right?
It doesn't matter. He's a prototype, 6'5", great form. We love him.
I remember Solly, our friend and friend of the show, Solomon Wilcox, was saying in that second half, Josh Herbert started hearing footsteps. He said you could tell he started hearing footsteps.
No,
so those guys were teeing off, and he's kind of start short arming things.
That's never good, hearing footsteps.
Yeah.
So
okay.
and then the other NFL thing that I'm looking forward to is Lamar Jackson. I can't wait to see Baltimore this year. They finally gave him weapons. Yeah. He had to force him to do that. We all know the story. I think part of that contract was them getting him stuff. So
now the pressure shifts on him,
which is fine. I think he can. If he just goes out there and play, he doesn't seem like a guy who's like thinking too much. he goes out there and plays.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. Wish he would have held out more for the guaranteed contract, but he was enrolled, and that's your problem, not mine. You
right,
know,
and
and
at least they gave him some weapons this year.
we'll
Finally,
see. Well, we'll see. Is what's name going to stay healthy? There's always an issue with him.
right?
With
Beckham Jr.
Odell Beckham, is he going to stay healthy? I think that potentially, again, if he stays healthy, that's another bet. That's another bet. Will Odell Beckham stay healthy, and will Lamar Jackson throw? Will he throw over more yards? Will he have his best season since his third season in the league? Or maybe was it second? Maybe his second, third season. When was he the MVP? 2016? No,
Right, 3 or 4 years
no,
ago.
he wasn't even in the league. 2016. Will Lamar Jackson have an MVP like season this year?
I like those odds. I might even put $10 put $10 on it or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'd bet on that. So good. And then we'll see. I'm sure there'll be other stuff that will come up. The NFL suspended more people for gambling. I forget which team this was. But otherwise, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I'm now officially a soccer fan.
there we go.
Well,
So we'll get some updates. Like I said, next week we'll talk soccer.
yeah, we'll talk
We'll talk
soccer.
women's World Cup.
Yeah, we're warning you. And then next thing you know, it will be at the U.S. Open
Yes, yes, and Jets training camp.
and Jets training camp. Yeah. Well, have fun at Jets training camp. And I'm still here in D.C., but we're taking the fellows to see to the Museum of African American History and Culture,
Great
and
museum.
we're going to meet the curator, the sports curator there
Hmm,
tomorrow. So
that's great.
that should be intriguing. Yeah. So all in all, it was a good thing. So maybe I'll head to Jets camp on Monday just to get my first look at Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, yes. Uh, of course, thanks for listening, everybody. Follow us on all of our social media platforms at BrosPod, on Twitter at BrosPod, on Instagram. Follow BrosPod on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the show. We're brought to you by Bet Online. Make those bets. Uh, and that's all I got.
And register to vote.
Oh yes. Oh,
Register to
it's
vote.
that time again, huh? I'm not looking forward to this. Is all. I mean, when elections become just, it's just like your heart just, another. I mean, it's so fast, right? They come around so fast now, these elections.
And we have come up 4 years of peace. I mean, relative peace, but these people never stop. They
Oh,
never stop. You
never stop.
saw
Never stop.
overturning Roe v. Wade.
Affirmative
Uh,
action.
Now they're affirmative action, race-based admission. I mean, the monster that's been pursuing us for 400 years is still on the loose.
And I guess never, we just got we should be used to it. We are used to it. And it's never going to stop. So,
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
just have to, use AI to invent a permanent engine. What do they call it in football? Motor.
yeah,
You have to have a permanent motor, so you
permanent
can
motor.
continue to run and to resist and fight.
Yep.
But so everybody. So in addition to, I always say, pray, but also vote. Make
Yes.
sure everybody in your family who's voting age votes.
Please, I beg you.
Please vote. 'Cause, boy, you have no idea. All right, everybody, and stay safe. So God bless.